Hello, Starshine. My name is Liz and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe. And maybe check out my Facebook page where this whole thing began as well. All relevant links are in the description below, and of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of the characters featured in my stories, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Alrighty then. So, welcome, and what is up, Buttercup? Are you having a good day or a bad day? Whichever your answer, please allow me to distract you from your life and tell you a story. A Simsational story. Before I begin though, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done. But I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now we've gotten that over with. Let's go. Today's story is from Conservationist Kaiulani of Sulani, and we're at chapter 1. All subsequent chapters will be put into a playlist on my channel, where you can hear the entire story in chronological order. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Kaiulani. Named after the last crown princess of Hawaii, Kaiulani had grown up in Sulani and had just gotten her own place. Living in a small shack by the ocean was a dream come true for Kaiulani. She didn't quite live off the grid. However, her amenities were still quite basic. The bathroom was outside, for example. Kaiulani loved her beautiful, simple little starter home, though. Kaiulani had a bit of a green heart and loved being outside. Her first few months in her new place were spent in happy isolation as she started her garden and got to know the islands she hoped to save from the devastating results of tourism and pollution she could see all around her. By the time spring was over, she had everything the way she liked it. Kaiulani also spent a lot of her time trying to clean up the islands of Sulani. Tourism had helped the islands survive over the years, but it had also taken its toll, and there was far too much rubbish all over the place that nobody except Kaiulani seemed to be cleaning up. In fact, she spent so much time doing it that she decided to get a job in the Conservationist career. That was when she met Lucas Pointer at work. He too was a conservationist, and he lived on the island right next door to Kaiulani. She couldn't believe they hadn't crossed paths before now. At first, Kaiulani was his assistant at work, but soon, to her embarrassment, she got promoted to being his boss. Lucas didn't mind, though. He wasn't in the conservation gig to decide policies or for the accolades, few and far between as they were anyway. He just wanted to save Sulani, and if Kaiulani was the best person for the job, he supported her promotion. He happily congratulated her and looked forward to seeing where she would go in the future. Besides, Lucas did have other things to occupy him. He had started a commune on his island, and so far his commune boasted 7 members, including himself, which meant there was more than enough going on at home. So while he was definitely passionate about conservation, he didn't have quite the same drive for professional success as Kaiulani did. But Kaiulani wasn't all about work. In her spare time, when she wasn't working to save the planet or gardening at home, Kaiulani began picking up gigs in Simsational as a DJ. She didn't really earn a lot of money from it, but that wasn't the point. She was just having fun. One night while playing a set, Kaiulani noticed a young girl dancing to her music. Who was she? And why was she out so late? It was 3 a.m. Surely she should be home in bed by now. She couldn't be more than 15 or 16 years old. What were her parents thinking? After her set finished, Kaiulani stopped the girl to talk to her and find out what was going on. The young teenager tried to fob her off at first, but Kaiulani wasn't buying it. Something was going on here. She insisted that the girl come visit her in Sulani and gave her her address and phone number. Sunflower Andrews was curious. She'd always wanted to go to Sulani. Their beautiful beaches on a string of volcanic islands were famous the world over, although recent reports had indicated that tourism had polluted the local environment almost beyond repair. It was during this first visit that Kaiulani really found out what was going on with her new young friend. Sunflower had run away from home and was living homeless on the streets of Simsational, surviving by sleeping on benches and eating from street carts. After that, Kaiulani kept inviting Sunflower over, as often as the young girl would go there. She would feed her island recipes she had learnt from her mother, and try to talk her into going back to school. She was still young, and she could go anywhere in life she wanted to. Kaiulani's support soon graduated to offers of accommodation. There wasn't much room in her little shack, but at least Sunflower was far more safe and comfortable on that little couch by the beach than she'd been in months. Still, Kaiulani wished she could offer the teenage girl more. But Kaiulani's house was like a respite for Sunflower. The troubled young teenager had never experienced such a relaxed home life before. Her parents had always been so strict and had pressured her about everything, but Kaiulani was chill. Sunflower was starting to chill out herself a bit too. She still had some issues. Erratic mood swings and an odd habit of talking to herself were the most noticeable. But she found that the meditation and yoga Kaiulani was teaching her helped. She was starting to feel more centered now. Kaiulani was glad that Sunflower was starting to settle down, but this whole domestic life thing was starting to grind. She herself was only 22. How could she be expected to raise a wayward 15-year-old? It was all right to let the girl stay with her for a few weeks, but she couldn't really have her move in and live there forever, could she? Kaiulani then took it upon herself to call the girl's parents and met Sunflower's father, Jonathan, after a set in Simsational one night. She tried to convince him that his daughter needed him, but he was having none of it. Kaiulani could have and raise his daughter for all he cared. When Sunflower found out that Kaiulani had called her father, she was furious. How could she do that? After everything they'd gone through, for her to go and call Sunflower's dad and try to get him to take her back to suburbia? It was messed up. Kaiulani hadn't even asked Sunflower what she wanted, let alone pretended that she cared or would listen. Sunflower couldn't believe she was going through all this again. She thought Kaiulani was different. She used to be cool, and she had seemed to respect how Sunflower was her own person. But now she was trying to take over, trying to act like a parent, and, well, it sucked. Suddenly, Kaiulani could understand why the young girl's parents had had so much trouble with Sunflower. Things between Kaiulani and Sunflower were at a dangerous tipping point. Kaiulani didn't want to kick the girl out, but what else could she do? And that brings us to the end of Chapter 1 of Conservationist Kaiulani of Sulani. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. Or like I said, look us up on Facebook. Bye!